Hello there and welcome to the Bitcoin Takeover Gymcast. This is season 15, episode 60-something by the time I publish it. We are at the Nice Hash conference, which celebrates 10 years of Nice Hash. And I'm next to someone who has mined Bitcoin, next to someone who has a lot of interesting stories about your Opsec and protecting your coins and why it's important to not put all of your information out there on the internet. His name is Rocelo Lopes. And he has quite a few interesting stories to tell about how he refused to receive his first Bitcoin transaction of like 1,000 Bitcoins or something. And then he sold some Bitcoin. His wife got kidnapped. He had to lock his coins. And it's a long story. So where do we even begin, Rocel? And at the same time, we're going to work out in the background while we are not speaking and holding the microphone, because that's the whole concept of the Gymcast.
Okay. Well, thank you to having me in the podcast, the Gymcast. Yeah, my name is Rocelo Lopes. I am from Brazil. I did start long ago. I'm not going to talk too much, so it's not going to be really, really tired. But I started in 2013, and the way I started was because someone wanted to pay me. Was about $180,000. That was the bill, and the guy was begging me to accept Bitcoin, and I was refusing to accept Bitcoin. And then finally, after a few months, the guy's telling me, please let me pay. Then I told him, you know what? Okay, whatever. Give me this funny coin that you tell him that you wanted to pay. And then everything started from there. But I remember the number, 1,105 Bitcoins was in that time. And it took some time, but in the same year, I went to meet some guys in Japan and Tokyo to check it out about they could buy the Bitcoins and end up buying more, and then everything started right there.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool story, because I guess many of us back in the day heard about Bitcoin incidentally from someone who wanted to pay with it to prove that it has some utility, and we have some regrets about that. And if you're wondering why we do workout in the background, it's for your own personal security. You have to be in good shape to defend your Bitcoin, so keep that in mind. Yeah. So when did you actually buy your first Bitcoin? How did that happen?
You know, you have to have like I was in Tokyo, talking with guys that they were involved in Bitcoin. Then when I realized, the guy told me, you know what? I can pay you $1,000 for the Bitcoins. I was like, no, I'm not going to sell for that money. It's like, it's worth it 180. You tell me to 1,000? No way. So then they said, no, it's each Bitcoin. On that moment, guess what? You know what I did? Instead of selling, I bought $12,000 worth in Bitcoin because I had that money in my bank account. And I told the guy, let me see if this thing is real. I'm going to transfer to you $12,000, that much that I have. And then I bought more. That's how I started to buy Bitcoin. But look how funny is this thing. The guy who introduced me to Bitcoin was the guys from Mt. Gox. Look how funny is that now, huh?
So who was it, Mark Harpeles or?
Was his partners. I don't remember his name because it was a very easy conversation. It was Caperles because he could not go to the meeting, and I met his partner. But it was funny because today when I look at it, well, I lost a few Bitcoins with them because I think I left on the platform, 10 Bitcoins. And then, but I learned how to do. But the funny part is like the guys who had a huge problem in the market actually was the guy who told me what to do. And then I went to Argentina, bought more Bitcoins, and started to mine Bitcoin on 2015. That's what 2014 when I started to mine Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool story. You also told me that when you went to Argentina, and let me grab another dumbbell just to do something in the background. So you told me that when you went to Argentina, you went searching for Satoshi Nakamoto. And that's a pretty funny story, right? The first edition of La BitConf, I think it was 2013 or 2014.
And then it was funny because I just came here from La BitConf. And yes, on 2013, from Tokyo, I went straight to La BitConf to meet Satoshi Nakamoto because I went to talk to him because the code was not good. The 10 minutes per block, not good. And 1 megabyte, not good. So I went there to speak with the guy. I said, listen, buddy, your code is not pretty. I mean, there is a lot of things that we need to change. And then I went there and I started to asking guys all over, like, what is Satoshi Nakamoto? When are you going to start to talk? Because I need to talk to him. And then everybody told me that Satoshi Nakamoto does not exist, or whoever, nobody never met him in person. And then it was funny because that moment, I realized the thing actually work. And here's another cool thing. I came back from La BitConf that happened like a week ago. And it's just me and Alejandro from Kraken is the only two person that is not involved on the organization that has been in every single La BitConf. Yes, we went in all the La BitConfs that happened since 2013 till today. So we are the only two person that actually been on La BitConf, and they gave us a nice gift for that. So Rodolfo was very nice with us, very kind, and until that time, I start to learn more and more about it.
Rodolfo Andragnias, you've been on the show twice. We're calling you out. Get with us in the gym. Let's get strong.
That's nice, man. It's good to let's just for you guys to see, you have to be strong in this market. You need to understand what you're doing. So like you said, you must be in shape. You must be in shape to understand, to follow the market, to be in the market, because the market it's complicated. It's heavy. Some days going to be $80,000, like today is $80,000. Can go back to 60? Yes, can. We'll go, yeah, for sure we'll go. But also we're going to go to 100,000 and also we're going to be in 1 million. But when it's 1 million, make sure you are fit for it.
Yeah, you got to build those strong hands. You got to hodl with your strong hands. And you got to be ready to defend the Bitcoin for the future of your family, brother. You got to do that. And speaking of that, brother, I got to tell you, if someone pays you in CBDCs today, which are, no offense, Tether and some of the other stable coins, you can swap them at Sideshift.ai. They have pretty low fees, very good liquidity, and it makes no sense in the bull market to be holding onto stable coins anyway. So check out Sideshift. This was a sponsored message. And now I gotta ask you more about your work, because how do you go from this guy who is skeptical about Bitcoin to someone who buys a lot of Bitcoin to someone who starts mining a lot of Bitcoin? And we are here at actually a conference that's about mining. So you're invited at the 10-year anniversary of one of the most popular mining companies.
Yeah, for me, it was amazing, right, to be here, especially because I know a lot about mining, but also I know not a lot about blockchain. I love cryptography. I love privacy. I programming since I was 14 years old. Right now I'm 51, and I understand a lot about this technology. And coming to a conference that, was not just mining. Today was not just mining that we talk about it. And to be honest with you, I think mining after 2032, I don't know what those guys are going to do, because there is no much to mine anymore. And I think the way Satoshi Nakamoto did was so smart, because I do believe that one day Bitcoin mining will go back to the old days, which was going to be few guys at home with the normal computer sustaining the blockchain, making sure the blockchains keep running. And look how cool is that. Maybe it could be the guys that is doing like ETF, that it has all the needs to keep the network running. So then it's not going to be a bunch of miners anymore. Probably it's going to be I don't know, maybe 200 computers mining, like who was right in the beginning. So Satoshi Nakamoto was really smart on that one. And for me, as I start being, like you said, I'm not going to receive that, I understood. I read a lot about it. I studied a lot about it. And then now I am building technology to make sure people can use their Bitcoin on a daily basis. But I do not believe right now that the Bitcoin is the payment method for us to use every day. I don't think is the moment. At this moment, I don't want to be the guy who paid 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 pizzas. So I think there is a lot to go. There is a lot of things that needs to be changed. There is a lot of privacy that needs to put on this thing. And I'm sure there is on other coins that you can use to do payments, such as I think the stablecoin has the job to do right now. But if anyone asks me, like, should I buy Bitcoin? For sure. Buy it, put in your wallet, and use as your savings wallets, because that wallet is going to save you one day.
It's going to save your money, and it's going to save your life one way or the other. But I got to ask you, how do you go from buying some Bitcoin to having your wife kidnapped? What's the story behind that? And what are the takeaways from that so people don't repeat the same mistake?
Well, the mistake was pretty much simple. Number one, ego, because, I was so happy that I was all over the magazines, I was all over the place. Most of the magazines in Brazil was calling me to do interviews, the newspaper, and I was feeling like, wow, that's so nice, but I didn't see the danger behind the whole thing. And then the other thing, like, people were calling me and say, hey, do you sell Bitcoin? Yes. I was not asking questions. I was just sending straight from my wallet. It's like, there is one thing that I think when Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin, maybe he created Bitcoin to run in Switzerland, not to run in Brazil, Colombia, Mexico. Those countries are danger. If you do not know what you're doing with your wallet, you transfer from your wallet that has like a bunch of Bitcoins on it, or even some people will send from an exchange, but whoever is looking to you say, oh, this is Rocelo's wallet, and could not be my wallet, could be a wallet from exchange. So on that time, some people were buying Bitcoin from me because I was getting from the mining that we're doing and putting everything on the same wallet. I not even took the time to say, let me set up a wallet only for this, a wallet only for that, do proper. I didn't do. So what happened? So those guys start to look at me and say, okay, this guy manufactured money. This guy is all over the news. This guy must be rich. Let me check his Instagram. Let me check his wife's Instagram. Oh, this guy's driving a McLaren. This guy's driving a Ferrari. So he must be rich. Guess what? Became a target. So then those guys, they was buying Bitcoin from me. And then during the process that when they take my wife, when the guy asked me like the amount of money that they want, I said, listen, I do not have this amount of money that you're talking about. The guy was straight. You do. We bought Bitcoin from you, and we can see your wallet here on the blockchain. That was a mistake. So I tell every single one, make sure you learn, make sure you understand how it worked, and then make sure you have your cold wallet, make sure you have many different hot wallets, make sure you are using a very good ones, make sure you have the private key, make sure you have everything set and proper, because remember one thing, when you transfer one Bitcoin from wallet A to wallet B, on chain, the wallet B can see your transactions. You can see the person transaction too. That's something that right now I am working on it to change a little bit how people can transact. But I'm still, the way I think it is daily basis, I will go with USDT, but I still have to put some protection on it. But my savings is the one that nobody knows. That's going to save my ass in one day, or going to save my life. But we still need to work a lot on that one. But I made a mistake. I didn't do the job proper. I was a programmer. I was someone involved with that. And I didn't do the homework. And then I paid a very hard price. Very expensive price. Everything's fine. We didn't pay anything to them. We didn't send any Bitcoin to them. But in the end of the day, the trauma that was behind that is still today. It's a little bit hard, but we are day after day. We are surviving.
There's this narrative that only criminals and money launderers and drug dealers or whatever need privacy. And whenever the topic of Bitcoin privacy gets brought in, they say, oh, so these people can launder their money for Bitcoin and blah, blah, blah. But it's also about everyday people who just don't want the party that's going to receive a transaction from them know everything about their past transactions. This is why I'm a fan of CoinJoins. It's a pity that Wasabi Wallet shut down their company, and Samurai Wallet, at least one of the developers is in jail right now. And it's sort of disappointing because Bitcoin, to be fungible as money and to be able to be used as money, maybe not today, we use it to store value, but in the future we expect it to become peer-to-peer money. We do need a degree of privacy, and we should not discriminate between coins and say, oh, this one comes from his wallet and this one comes from my wallet, and therefore he's more famous and therefore it's more valuable if it comes from him. It makes no sense. We should look into ways to do this. I do like the fact that we have sidechains that are being researched right now, and we also have ZK rollups. So I'm going to plug two of my sponsors at this point. One of them is Cake Wallet, and they have this silent payments feature for Bitcoin. Basically, when you're receiving Bitcoins, they provide these stealth addresses that do not allow everyone to see on the public blockchain how many transactions you got and from where. And that's very important. So check that out, download Cake Wallet and play with that. It doesn't cost you anything, honestly. Just take a look. And the other sponsor is Layer 2 Labs, who are working on sidechains right now. And they're trying to bring this Zcash sidechain to Bitcoin, basically to have the privacy by default and have this layer, which is pegged to the main chain. You transfer coins from the main chain to this sidechain, and you're going to enjoy a pretty good privacy while you're there. So check that out. It's layer2labs.com. Look into their stuff. Did you look into drive chains? Do you have any opinion on that?
Well, it's to be honest, no, because I'm focused a lot in Liquid. Let me get it for you. I'm focused on Liquid, and Liquid is a second layer of Bitcoin, and it's a nice the way they do the privacy there. They have confidential transaction, which I like it a lot. I know the guys from Zcash too. I know Zoco. I know things about Monero. I think those guys, they are the one who's showing the future, but I still think that's a lot of things to change. The one that I think also could be a possibility, but you still need to work a lot on it. It is Lightning. I think has a future, but we need to tweak a little bit to make it work. But the other blockchains, to be honest, like even people come to me and say, "Oh, have you seen Ethereum?" Nope, none. I only check Bitcoin, and sometimes I do have a look at others. And then right now, I'm bullish on Liquid. I think Adam Beck did a fantastic job on it, and I'm focused on those. Like people ask, like, "Oh, what do you think about the RGB?" No idea. Didn't have time to have a look yet. What do you think about that? No idea. So I'm focused in Bitcoin, what can Bitcoin can do, and then what can we do to bring more privacy on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I also look at Bitcoin-compatible networks mostly. For example, something interesting that happened in the last 2 years with Litecoin is that they had this Mimblewimble extension block added. This was an idea by Andrew Polstra, who is the chief of research at Blockstream, to use the Mimblewimble protocol on this extension block. And it's basically a block size increase with a soft fork, because you have parallel blocks that are mined by the same miners. And it also has privacy built in. So it's pretty cool. It's a pity that there's not much discussion in Bitcoin about it, but it's live on Litecoin for 2 years. Right now, they're rolling out mobile wallets. It's also available on Cake Wallet, I think. And it's pretty cool. I wish we had this in Bitcoin and we had a more serious conversation about why this is necessary, because we seem to be stuck in this idea, we need to add this opcode to build this, but it doesn't have like a definitive purpose. We just want some builders to be able to build some cool stuff, but we don't know exactly what they want to do. And I respect Monero, for example, because they have a very clear focus on what they want from their network. They just want privacy and ASIC resistance so everyone can mine. That's sort of the whole point of the network. They don't care about scarcity, auditability, and stuff like this. They don't mind trusting the developers to do a good job. They have their own reputation system. But for what it is and what it does, it works well. So I wish Bitcoin learned from that, because money needs to be money. It should not be like a collectible. But what do you think about the fact that Liquid didn't get too much traction? Because the tech is there, the infrastructure is there, the partnerships, the money, all of it is there. But the users, the Bitcoiners, don't really use it. So why do you think they stay away from Liquid?
Well, I do think it's because it's not being marketed yet, and good thing that it's not has been marketed yet. It's really, I like it that, because so then they can test, they can do more stuff, and then also, to be honest, most of people, probably some people are going to agree with me, some people are not going to agree with me. Liquid today, for me, it is the Trojan horse to get inside the banks. Let me explain that, because people say like, are you nuts? No, let me explain that. How can we make this thing to go mainstream? we need to put that on where everybody used to do payments. And what is that? Banks. But banks now, they are getting interested in ETFs. They are getting interested in a lot of things about blockchain. But the regulator, it's always go to a point to say, we not allow you to do that because there is no privacy on the blockchain. Now, Liquid has that opportunity. And why Liquid has that opportunity? Liquid, there is running right now USDT. Countries in South America, such as Venezuela, Argentina, Brazil, those guys, we use there a lot of USDT. Just for the audience has an idea, 90% of the transactions, crypto transactions in Brazil, it is USDT. So let's take all that information. Now, knock the door in the bank and say, hey, Mr. Banker, why don't you put a digital dollar account in your platform? Then they say, yeah, but the regulator does not allow me to do because it has the private thing. No, don't worry about it. Now you have a blockchain to do that. Now you can put it. Now you have the taste to do that, to offer that thing to the users. Now the user has, especially in Brazil and Argentina, okay, now I have a digital dollar account. The bank does not need a license to do that. The bank just realized that also the user has the private key, so then there is no deposit on the Brazilian central bank. There is no security deposit. So kind of relieve him a little bit for things that he's supposed to do. Now, let's just think for 1 second. The blockchain is there. USDT, the most used coin, is there. Now, all you need to do is say, like, hey, listen, you already have the blockchain. Why don't you add Bitcoin? Because you also can offer that. It's a second layer. Now the user will say, okay, I have this Bitcoin in my bank here. Let me read about it. Let me understand why the bank is offering me that. That is the Trojan. So when you see USDT, the T, buddy, means for you to understand, it's Trojan. That is the way that I think people are going to start to learn more and more and more and more when we start to infiltrate inside that system, and little by little, we remove the guy, and then he realize that, okay, I don't need to use the bank anymore because when I'm going to the pizza place, I saw a Bitcoin sign over there. So that means I can pay with Bitcoin. So, but that's not going to be tomorrow. That's going to take time. But we need to start to build that road right now. And that's exactly what we build in Brazil. Coming January, we have approval from the Brazilian Central Bank to test with 2 digital banks. And it's going to be a test adding first USDT, and then probably at the same year, we're going to add Bitcoin. It's probably going to be the first banks in the world that clients, users, will be able to really transfer cryptocurrency with privacy.
It's sort of insane when you think about it because USDT was created as a token on the Omni layer, which was previously called Mastercoin on Bitcoin. So it was something that was created on Bitcoin during this wave in the middle of the bear market from 2014 to 2017. They created this because they were trying to prove that Bitcoin can do much more than just BTC. And the narrative was Bitcoin 2.0 and real world assets being brought to Bitcoin. But it's insane that of all the ideas, because of course they went to gold, they went to silver, they tried stocks, they tried a lot of stuff. But the only one that actually succeeded was the US dollar. So why do you think this is? And isn't this ironic? Because in the early days, Bitcoiners were saying, oh, we're going to replace the US dollar. And now you have the US dollar being more traded worldwide on Bitcoin infrastructure, even if it's Tron. I think that's still Bitcoin-like infrastructure, a blockchain, than actual free market money that were created with these blockchains. So do you ever think about this?
Yes, I mean, I was part of the entire process when I saw Omni, when I saw that on the hacking on Bitfinex happened was the right moment to do. And then also the reason that they created USDT was because the banks are closing their bank accounts. A lot of exchanges are losing their bank accounts. So then they decided to do that. So, which is ironic right now. It is, yes, we've seen that USDT succeed and USDT is growing more and more and more. We just can see now they just mint 1 billion more, and Tether has been, amazing the way they are doing things. But the reason that people actually are using USDT is because it's not volatile. People they are afraid of volatile products. It's only people that understand Bitcoin, which is a very small portion of the population, understand that. They are afraid about one day it's 80,000, maybe tomorrow is going to be 60,000. For who depends on the salary, who wins a salary, this is a huge, huge risk. That's why USDT has been helping these people. That's why USDT was almost of every single exchange all over the world. It's running in more than 180 countries in the world, and the volume that they do daily basis is something crazy. But the reason that it's succeed is because Tether understood what is the user on third world countries or emergent countries, like they call. They understood. In Venezuela, USDT is huge. In Colombia, USDT is huge. In Argentina, USDT is huge. But why not Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is volatile. Bitcoin is complicated, 10 minutes. And then most of people do not understand the Lightning. So it's way too complicated to be a store of value. But yes, exactly. And then one thing is you need to understand. And then that comes also from, you see, probably if you haven't looked on the internet, you see Paulo saying these things a couple of times. Tether is a company that they say, okay, cool, we're doing this, we're doing that, energy, a bunch of other things. But if you ask Paulo, say, what do you think about USDT being used every day? He'll be against this. And he said many times, he wants to everybody in the earth hold his own Bitcoin. So imagine a guy that worked for exchange and the largest crypto company in the world are telling that, yes, we are doing a job, but we think, that's his words, we think everybody should have Bitcoin. And he's right. Right now, let's use USDT to jump to the Bitcoin. But do not get wrong. Have Bitcoin in your wallet. This is the most important coin that we have in the market today. Right now, use as a future investment. Daily basis, if you want to pay with USDT, but make sure you have Bitcoin. It is important for you. And the lesson that we are having right now, it is everybody can see, look at the price, what it is right now. But don't think tomorrow, think in about 5 years' time.
For context, I have to mention that we are recording this when we just hit $80,000 a few hours ago, and we are contemplating on what this actually means for our strength and security. And the Paolo that he mentioned is Paolo Arduino from, I think he's the CTO.
CEO of Tether now and CTO of Bitfinex.
CTO of Bitfinex, CEO of Tether. He's a big-time Bitcoiner. And he does push for Bitcoin adoption. I guess he's the one behind financing Liquid to be able to put Tether on it. And he also finances a couple of projects on Ethereum, I think Polygon and something else.
And then also there is one thing that they finance is called Peer. Peer, it's a technology that allows users to developers to develop stuff without client server, to be decentralized, because that's all the thing cool about Peer is is a technology that you can develop stuff without a need of a server, which is, I think, is brilliant, because in our head, everybody puts something in our head saying, no, we need a server to run a database. You need a server to run this. You need a server to run that. Guess what? Amazon, Google, they are making a lot of money with that. So it's time to decentralization, not just on the money, but also decentralization for the technology. I think that is missing too.
Yeah, I do know Keat. I did beta test Keat when it came out. I haven't used it too much. I don't know why. Maybe I forgot about it. It's still on my computer. I installed it. I think the issue with it was that I could not live stream, and that was the only part missing that could make me actually switch from, I think I use Zoom and Google Meet sometimes. But if I had this option, I would go full on Keat, become a power user. It's just that it missed things, or it was missing some key features.
Not anymore. We use Keith and a company every day to communicate that, to do online meetings. So it's brilliant, but it's still a lot way to go. It's a lot of things to be fixed, but it's starting. Remember, like, you have let's say MSN, or you have WhatsApp, you have Telegram, you have a bunch of programs out there, but how long took them to be where they are right now? So you have to give Keith some time, and then but for sure, I think it's going to be something very useful on the future, because it has been done very, very well.
Yeah, and I got to give a shout out to HODLing.ch, who is a sponsor of this show, and they're based in Switzerland. They help you with your self-custody. Now that the price is high and you're exposed to more attacks potentially, if you have been telling people that you have Bitcoin, you go to these guys and they're going to advise you on which hardware wallets to use, what kind of multi-sig you should do, how to distribute the keys around so that you make sure that there's no single point of failure and nobody can rug you, or you're protected even against yourself. And you can check out their website. It's hodling.ch. And they're based in Switzerland once again, which means you have better confidentiality for this service. Check them out. And I was going to ask you, what is your advice for someone who wants to, let's say that they bought their coins on some exchange, they want to withdraw, but they're afraid of self-custody. And what kind of recommendations would you make? I know that you locked your coins for multiple years.
Yes, I mean, that is something complicated, because remember, private key, 12 words, for someone that is just starting, it's really, really complicated. So it's hard, it's difficult, it's possible, but you need to learn first. So my advice, it is learn about it. How can you do it? And also, it's not just you learning. You need to, your relatives, your friends, wife, husband, someone in your family that you can trust, and then you can tell them that you have Bitcoins, that you have that. What I did a couple of years ago was I used something called to lock the transaction. So I did a transaction, send the Bitcoins to the future. Okay, so I did a calculation, how many blocks do I need to lock that? And then I did the transaction. For me, it was a relief. Now I do not have those Bitcoins anymore. It's somewhere in the future. And then I'm going to get in the future that. So that is for someone that is saying, you know what, this is for my son, or this is for my daughter. This is for someone in the future. Go there, have a look at how you lock that, put the time lock on it, and then you'll be able to do that. So then you don't have to be worried anymore. But you need to be worried about one thing. Do they know how to unlock? Do they know how to use? Do they know how to import the private key? Do they know how to use the 12 or 24 words? It's very complicated, because let's imagine one thing. Let's imagine that you have, 10 Bitcoins, okay? But you do save your private key, your 12 words somewhere, but you do not tell anyone. And then one day you walk in, you're going to the gym, and then you're doing weights and something happened, the weight hit your head and you lose a memory. You not died, but you lost your memory. That's it. You do not remember what the hell that you did yesterday or 5 years ago, whatever. And now what? You just lost it. So now, let's see the other way around. Now I told my wife that I have this amount of Bitcoins, and hey, love, this is my private key, or this is my 12 words. Let's say 20 years time, relationship is not that cool anymore, love disappeared, and then one day you have a problem, you find a nice girl 10 years younger than you, hotter than your wife, and you say, no, you're not going to hurt, you're not going to find out, and then she find out. What do you think she's going to do with your Bitcoins? Or let's see the other way around. She does that and then takes your Bitcoins out. Who do you tell? Who do you tell that you can trust? Oh, I'm going to tell my son. What happened if your son just go cuckoo and then decide to use your Bitcoin? Let's say you give to your daughter. Same thing. Who are you going to trust to give that information? So you also have to be creative on that one too. So some people, like the way I did it, I put in a safe in Hong Kong, put in my will, lock the safe, and I just told people that I trust, if one day something happened with me, Remember, there is a safe in Hong Kong, and you need my approval to open that safe if I'm still alive. If I'm not alive, so then take the will or take the death certificate to the government in Hong Kong, then you'll be able to open that safe. You see, it has to be something like that, because otherwise, and on top of that, imagine if you tell, let's say, someone, and that someone tell some other person, because the person does not understand much. So let's say I tell, I don't know, my daughter, and then my daughter talk to her friend and say, hey, you know, my father, he has this amount of Bitcoins and he gave me the words. Do you know? It's like, does she know that he was talking to? See, so what is the solution? Learn, make sure you have the privacy, make sure you only tell people that you actually trust. If people ask you in the street or ask you like, oh, are you investing in Bitcoin? Just have some Satoshis. I just starting. It's for your own protection.
Yeah, whenever people ask me how much Bitcoin I own, I tell them 21 million. And they're like, well, what does that mean? Because there are only 21 million coins. And I tell them, you know, if I find the private key, I can actually have 21 million. I need the private key for each one of them. I have the public key, right? Yeah. I can see that they're there. I can check them out. I can see the addresses. But I just need to find the private key, and I'm going to have 21 million. And they leave me alone. Yeah, they stop me, because you can say, oh, I have no Bitcoin, but that's sort of, they know. They saw you in interviews. They saw that you're doing stuff. Of course, you have even a small amount. You have some. Otherwise, why would you waste all of your day thinking about this? But when you provide a creative answer and you get people to just give up and be like, okay, I can see how you're dressed. I can see what kind of car you're driving. I can make some assumptions. Yeah. I think that's where it stops. And if you're driving a, humble car, nothing too flashy, I guess you can get by and nobody's gonna try to kidnap your family members or try to do stuff to you. So that's another advice. Stay humble.
Yeah, well, it's like me. I'm always trying to be, after what happened, I try to be nice. Of course, I like good stuff. I can have good stuff. But when people are like, oh, but you have Bitcoins. Yes, I do. 10 years time, you'll be able to see. Right, the amount of, well, now it's only 8, but the way, and then maybe in 8 year times, I just go, okay, let's do another 10 years, right? But I do not have in my possession anymore. So even someone put a gun in my head, say, hey, buddy, let's convince all the miners in the world, right, for us to get those Bitcoins, because that is the only way for us to do it. There is nothing that we can do. And I'm just normal, like everybody. Have a few Bitcoins? Yes. Like few sats? Yes, I do, because I'm using on a daily basis. I'm trading, but not crazy stuff anymore. And of course, I mean, I work hard, so I make good money working hard, so that I can have those things. But listen, I had my time to have the fancy cars, not anymore. So today I drive just, I'm not even on the car. It's rented, right? And it's a very small car, very simple. I live in a very simple house. I treat everybody in the same way. I'm still the same guy from 2013. I met a lot of big Bitcoiners. I met Roger Ver, I met Eric Volt, I met André Antonopoulos, a lot of people. But listen, good for them. I'm still the same guy that went in La BitConf on 2013. It's exactly the same guy. And good thing that all my Bitcoins is not in my possession anymore.
Speaking of Roger, I have two mentions to make. First of all, I got canceled earlier this year for interviewing him, and people got angry at me. Secondly, there was a time when he was saying Bitcoin is going to go to $10,000, and he was regarded as this lunatic. It was like a few $100s, and he was calling for $10,000, and nobody believed him at the time. Now we're at $80,000, and my question for you is, how high do you think we're going to go with this bull market?
Well, this bull market, I think we do reach 100,000 by March, April next year. And then after that, it's just a matter of time to say how long it's going to take to get in a million. My guess for the million is going to be after 2032, because the mining things and people are going to descend more, the ETFs, and that's going to push. And also, I went to Tokyo once to speak with Roger, and I told him, like, when we started, probably a lot of people thought that you were crazy. And then he was telling me crazy stories about too. And that time was funny because we talking about it, how much it's going to be. And then he says, Rocelo, you see, man, you're going to see one day it's going to be $1 million. It's going to be $1 million. Yeah, Roger, I know it's going to be. It's just about time. But I think on this new bull market, I think by March, April next year, we will see 100,000. But check it out. I think it's going to be a small correction right now. And here's one advice to you, okay, users. What happened when you buy Bitcoin and you hold? Imagine if every single human being started to buy and hold. Where do you think the guys from MicroStrategy, the guys from the ETF, BlackRock, where do you think they're going to buy the Bitcoins? They need to find a place to buy Bitcoins. And if everybody's holding, they have to raise the price, raise the price, raise the price. So if you want the Bitcoin to hit 1 million as fast as possible, buy, hold, tell your buddy, buy, hold, tell your buddy to your buddy to buy and hold, and tell everyone in your family to buy and hold. A small portion. Then, instead 10 years or 20 years time for the Bitcoin to reach 1 million, maybe it's going to be a few years only, maybe 2 or 3 years. So in the end of the day, the power for the price is in every human being hands.
Yeah, that's beautiful. We're going to dump on BlackRock.
Yes. Exactly. And then imagine the guys from BlackRock begging you to sell your Bitcoins. It's not going to be that funny. You say, no, buddy, my Bitcoin is not for sale. And then, okay, how about 120,000? How about 150,000? How about 200,000? Because the investors are looking to buy more and more Bitcoin. But if you got the Bitcoin first, yeah, they're going to have a hard time to do.
Yeah, but I guess BlackRock also has this multi-generational plan, and they're thinking, okay, we buy this for this price, and then we're going to sell it to their kids for twice or something.
Yeah, for sure. And then that's why they create the ETF. And so, but like I said, you don't need BlackRock. You don't need MicroStrategy. You don't need nobody. All you need to do, even if say, I don't want to buy Bitcoin from exchange. I don't want to buy Bitcoin from anyone. Perfect. Sell your product. Do your job. Do your thing. The service that you do is start to get paid in Bitcoin. It's like me. When people say like, oh, Rocelo, can you do something like MBA? Because I am a teacher in some MBAs all over the world. Oh, can you do MBA here in our university? Yes, pay me in Bitcoin. If someone comes, hey, can you come to this event and then how much you have to send? You send this amount of Bitcoins. Everything, when people hire me to do anything, I charge in Bitcoin. So at the end of the day, I'm not buying Bitcoin. I am using my workout here, right, to get Bitcoins. That's exactly what I'm doing. So do not buy them. What do you do if you sell cookies? Charge in Bitcoin, give 5% discount, and get Bitcoin. Nobody going to pay, maybe one guy going to pay in Bitcoin. Perfect. And guess what? This is the best Bitcoin that you have. The government does not know. Nobody knows. The exchange does not know. You don't have to do KYC. You don't need to set up an account on exchange, and you get in Bitcoin. So again, the power is on the user's hand.
That's a powerful statement. Not that we encourage you to do tax evasion or anything. It's just that it's good to use Bitcoin as peer-to-peer money. And this question that I have for you, right, is if everyone is holding, how are Bitcoin businesses supposed to thrive? Because exchanges like Bitfinex, they rely on people buying and selling. You have services like, for example, ShopInBit. I'm not sure if you know about that one, but they sell pretty much everything around Europe for Bitcoin. And how are they supposed to actually perform and stay in business if everyone just treats Bitcoin as this NFT, I don't know how should I put it, collectible, something that they just accrue over time, they accumulate, they get more, but they don't think that there needs to be some sort of economy that's built around it. Something that's beautiful when you tell people to pay you in Bitcoin, even if you know that they're not going to, is that in the back end of their mind, you're creating this idea that there is demand for this. There is this guy who wants it, so there must be something to it, and maybe that somebody else is going to do it also, and that's how you create adoption. But still, we have this conflict, right, in terms of use cases. Is it a store of value, or are you supposed to use it for payments? I know that downstairs at the hotel, I got a couple of drinks last night and I paid but Bitcoin. And the waiter told me, oh, why don't you use your card like everyone else? Because you're supposed to hold Bitcoin. And the price was 76,000, I think. This morning it was 80,000. I don't care too much about that. It's just that I'm trying to increase the velocity of the money, just get more people to hold some more Bitcoin, to understand how it works, to spread the word out there, the education. This needs to be done. And it has to be done in parallel with all of this holding, which makes sense. You know, it makes sense to keep your savings in it, but it should also be a currency in the end.
I know, yeah, for sure. You're completely right. I mean, but always going to be business, because always going to be traders. Always going to be someone trading Bitcoin. Always going to be someone that is saying, no, I prefer to buy an exchange. The market is way too huge. Always going to be. But I think it's going to be less and less exchange all over the world. Probably going to see not many, maybe, I don't know, maybe 1,000 exchanges all over the world. But yeah, I agree with you. But what I'm thinking today, the way I think it is, it's too complicated. It's still too complicated to use. Some places, they still have that problem. But you said something that is very important. When you say you can pay in Bitcoin, oh, I don't have Bitcoin. Yeah, but if you pay in Bitcoin, have 5% discount. It's nice to do that to the person to start to learn, to start to understand. But if I learn right, if I understood right, on the moment that I want to check the price, I'll say, no, then I'm going to hold this thing. Yeah, but if there is an emergency, so then I can sell it and then I can use it. But I will, every single one, when you try to understand that, of course, you're going to hold it. Or some people, like even me, for example, my average price on the Bitcoin is about $250. So I could be using Bitcoin all day long because I don't care about how much it is. This up, down, sideways, whatever. So for me, we're not going to make any difference, because when I got, like I said, it's $250 my average price on this thing. But I'm rather right now to hold, use other coin or the cryptocurrency. I use USDT a lot, and then on the right moment, I'm gonna use Bitcoin for sure. And even like in our wallets, when we tell some people to download our wallets in Brazil, guess what? I give them some Satoshis. So for them to have the feeling, but I tell them, you see that I gave you Satoshis? Have a look on this Satoshi that I gave to you now within a year. If you do not trust me, check it out. And when I look all the way back in the day, around 2014, I used to give people 0.1 Bitcoin. Imagine that, 0.1 Bitcoin. 0.1 Bitcoin right now, it's a lot of money. But in the past, I used to do that. Exactly. These days, yes, I give worth it like $20 worth it in Bitcoin. Today, maybe when the Bitcoin hit 1 million, how much that's going to be? But my way to tell people to join this thing, to get involved, is download our wallet. When you're ready to send me your wallet address. I'll send you some Bitcoins to you. And then you start to learn from there. That's how I think is possible. And you're right in one thing. As many people tell about Bitcoin, as many people we can get out of the slavery of the financial system, better. But has to be slowly. Has to be, I would say, probably, let's get one human each time, but make sure he understands what he's doing. Not buying because the friend told him to do, and then say, well, I'm not making any money on this thing. When you explain proper, people will understand and people will start to join.
Now, we're talking about money and this cool stuff with gains and how much money you're going to make. But I'm not sure if you saw my presentation 2 days ago on the stage of NiceHash X. I spoke about Bitcoin as software and this idea that Bitcoin is sort of like Linux. There are two ways to scale it. You can either increase the capacity of Bitcoin, or else you're going to create forks of Bitcoin that fulfill different purposes. Just like today in Linux, we have maybe a distribution that uses very good security and is good for servers, one that is compatible with video games, and one that looks a lot like Windows. I think there are a bunch of those actually. We're going to have cryptocurrencies that fulfill different purposes, but this goes against the maximalist thesis sometimes. But what does that even mean? And I tried to explain briefly in my 20-minute presentation that this used to mean that we're going to get Bitcoin to do everything interesting out there on the market. That was the maximalist thesis from 10 years ago. But in the meantime, the culture has changed towards everything that is not from Bitcoin and not built by these few developers is a scam. and you should not look into other projects because they're scammy, they're shitcoins, they're whatever. And I was going to ask you because, of course, I can name a few examples, but I'm curious if you think that there's anything out there in the thousands of cryptocurrencies that is actually interesting, and it's not for people to invest in it, it's just to look into how the technology works to potentially bring some of that into Bitcoin. Do you look at anything like that and believe it's interesting?
Yes, I do. And then a matter of fact is like, for example, all our transactions in our wallet, we registered everything in a blockchain. When the user is doing a transaction, we encrypt the transaction and we put some information on chain. So especially because we need to comply with regulation in Brazil and for me to not go into jail. So then on that transaction, what we're doing, we register the transaction inside the blockchain. We are using Polygon at the moment to do that, but the idea is to use that information also on Liquid. But there is a lot of things that we need to change on Liquid for us to be able to register the information. So it's not just about just the money. We are using the blockchain also to store information. And then why we are doing that? Well, less Amazon, less database, right? And the other thing is written in a blockchain, no one you're going to change. And even when I go to the authorities, when I tell the authorities, they come to me and say like, oh, we need the record of the transaction. Yes, it's in the blockchain. So the user has the information. And also we kind of mirror our transactions to a wallet that we told the government, this is your wallet, where we can tell the government, say, all right, this is the information that you need. So because in Brazil, if you say the way we are doing, if you say, well, on Liquid, there is a confidential transaction. The government will say, no, that cannot be done because we want to see the transaction. We want to see the details for the transaction. So then we create a way to use Polygon. We are changing also to Polkadot because Polygon is like not working good. So then we are going to another blockchain. So then we can do that. And then the reason that we're doing that is using the blockchain as a storage also about the information, and then inside is the information related to the transaction. So using blockchain is not just about money. Also can to register something, can be to register the name of your son, your daughter, can be to register a history or something, can be used for a lot of things. And we are using right now, we are at this moment on our wallet, we do that. Every single thing that needs to be registered in the database, instead to register in the database, we put inside the transaction and we send with the transaction.
Since you got into Bitcoin, and that was like 11, 12 years ago, there's been a lot of changes. And it's very hard to believe that somehow you expected this to happen, but I guess you did not expect this to happen this fast. And where do you see Bitcoin in 10 years, given the amount of adoption and popularity that the project has gained? Do you think it's going to become the global money, or do you think it's going to become something like gold and much more popular? Do you think it's going to help? Like, there was this narrative to use Bitcoin for remittances and to get entire nations out of poverty and unbank the banked. No, bank the unbanked. Unbank the banked is actually the consequence of banks shutting down your accounts. So do you see any of this shaping up, or do you believe it's going to be something else entirely?
Well, I think 10 years is going to change a lot. And since I saw it change a lot already, and I think it's going to change even more. But it's going to be the global coin? I don't think so. I don't think so, because there is a lot of governments. They will play with their people. They want to do some stuff, can help other nations for sure. Some nations, look at El Salvador. Well, it was good what he did, but it's still a lot of things that he needs to do over there to maybe to accomplish what he wants to try to do. But I think Bitcoin, we're gonna play one thing that the gold used to play. I think countries are going to start to have reserves in gold, reserves in Bitcoin. And the reason that I think the countries are going to use it is because the security that you need around to get Bitcoin on your safe, all you need is the internet working in 12 words or 24 words. So and then you can multi-sig. Now imagine a government putting back in their economy in gold. Imagine the size, the space. Imagine the security. Imagine how that was necessary for a country to do that. And then change the president, change the parliament, change the senators, change everything. So it's hard for the country to control everything, which in a Bitcoin situation, well, if you do multi-sig, if you have a proper infrastructure, is a very small. So I think Bitcoin will be used in the future for sure. Some countries are going to say, oh, do you accept Bitcoin, USDT, and this other one? Yeah, sure. And for sure, some countries will have Bitcoin to back their coin, and instead having maybe, well, should be gold, but it's not since 1969. But I think what's going to happen, Bitcoin is going to have more usage on that to guarantee someone going to create a new coin for that particular area, for that particular thing. So, but of course, maybe you're going to see Australians traveling to Brazil, or people from Switzerland traveling to Brazil, and then say, oh, do you perhaps accept also Bitcoin? Some place they will. Some places they'll say, no, but there is this exchange here, this payment gateway, this bridge that you can convert Bitcoin to the one that we accept here in Brazil, like we did with our wallet. What I think that's going to happen is Bitcoin will play the main thing, the main layer, and then you're going to see layers on top of it. But I think Bitcoin, it is one of the assets that governments will use or companies will use to back a new coin or to back a new infrastructure or to back something else. So I think that's going to be the way.
Well, that sounds interesting, because last week I interviewed David Bailey, the CEO of BTC Media. He's in charge of Bitcoin Magazine and those large Bitcoin conferences that he's doing these days. And what I want to say about this is, we're switching to wine. It's a good way to relax after a workout. After this, I guess we can flex our bicep to show the proof of work. But what I want to say about this is that he put a lot of money and gambled a lot of reputation and time and a lot of energy, honestly, into these Republican candidates. And we got Donald Trump winning. We got a bunch of the people who spoke in Nashville on stage for running for not the Democratic, the Republican Party, that won their mandates. Now there's a majority of congressmen from the Republican Party. Many of them have been at the Bitcoin conference saying positive stuff about Bitcoin. And my question is, do you think this is going to accelerate adoption, or is this the right kind of adoption? Because for a while, we used to say that Bitcoin is the money of the people, but now we're going into top-down adoption, which is pretty much how a lot of the technologies have been propagated around into the masses. And maybe it's a failure on behalf of every Bitcoin advocate for not pushing for this peer-to-peer economy to get built before we get to the big guys, the big players.
Yeah, you know what? One thing I learned, politicians, they go where they can get votes. That's simple. Are they going to keep their word and everything that they promise? I guess not, unfortunately. But they have a taste. They check what? They talk about it. And again, talking about Bitcoin led people to go and look. And that is one thing that Satoshi Nakamoto did brilliant. The private key is yours. You are the one in control. So if they want to try to fool you, let them do it. And let's say, and here's the beauty about it. Let's say tomorrow they did not keep their word, which I think they will not, right? And then you Americans say, you know what? Those guys are full of shit. You know what? I'm leaving America. All you need is your mobile with you, or if you don't want to, if you have the 12 words or the private key, all you need to do, but is your passport. Then that's it. Just get away and then go to Bahamas, go to El Salvador, which El Salvador is quite nice. Go to Switzerland. You see, you have freedom. Now, let's try to imagine if you do not have this payment system working. Let's say you have the money in your bank, and now comes the new president of United States and say, none of the banks in America cannot wire the money to overseas. What are you going to do now? And by the way, you cannot travel with gold, right? So it becomes complicated. Now we have Bitcoin, so we can rely on this. So I don't think those guys were going to do much, but helps in one thing, They are talking about it. They are talking about Bitcoin. That will help. But you said something that I also don't like it, which is it's coming from top down. Should not be this way. That's what Satoshi Nakamoto was trying to tell everyone. Should be people we started to use and should be down to the top. But we still have time. We still have time to do it. But if we do not start to do it now, it's going to take a little while. So we better do. We better start, like I said, right in the beginning, tell your buddy. Tell him to download the wallet. He just mentioned some guys that already have a wallet. He's like he says on the podcast, has a lot of information about wallets that you can download. So, and the information that he's bringing on the podcast, it's to help you. So it's a lot of information to help you. Do not trust on the politician words, because those words in 4 years will change, or are going to change by January, because now they're in power. They can do whatever the hell they want. But we have the power. We have the key. We have the key.
I'm looking at the Bitcoin price right now. It's $80,486.9. It went up during this interview. It was 79,000 something, 900 whatever. Now it went up. And I am actually curious. We're recording this when this price was recorded, and it's the new all-time high. I'm curious how big it's going to be maybe in 1 week or two when I publish this. And let's basically flex our bicep right now after the workout and see if this pumps up the price by the time we publish the interview. Maybe it will be 82, 83, 84, even 81. That's still a significant gain. Even $100 above this price is going to be a significant gain. So I invite you, Rocelo, right now to just show off your guns, the ones that you can't buy with the Second Amendment from the US, the ones for which you actually have to work to build. Let's show off the guns. Yeah. Show the guns to the camera. Yeah. Show to everyone who wants to rob us that we're strong. We're working on our self-custody game. We're trying to be resilient. And don't come for us because you're going to get it. Yeah. And don't forget to hold your own keys and practice very good privacy with your Bitcoin, because you never know what's going to happen. Any closing words about where people can follow you, but not in a way where they follow you home and they kidnap family members?
Shooting. Listen, just type Rocelo Lopes on Google, and then you see a bunch of good things, bad things, but whatever you see about me, you can go there and then you see it. And one last thing that I keep telling every single one. If you think, like, if you have questions, if you do not understand, and you're like shamed to ask, like, come on, man, this question is too stupid. It's better the question to be stupid, not the stupid guy that did not ask. Ask the question. Go to the podcast and then see, hey, Rocelo said that. I want to know about it. I want to know about this. Ask the damn question, because if you do not ask, how the hell are we going to help you? So if you don't know, I don't know how to save my 12 words. We're going to give a bunch of different ways for you to do it. Buy a hard wallet. This is this amount of hard wallets. I am more than keen to help anyone. If you want to say like, Rocelo not going to answer me, text me. Send me a message on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. Text me. Send a message, and you'll see I'm going to answer. Because time to time I have to travel, be in the airport, waiting for the flight, and guess what? Let me see this stupid question, and I'll answer the stupid question, but do not be the stupid guy who did not ask the question.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to our Gymcast. Go to the gym, pump some iron, get strong, because that's the way you develop the strong hands that are required to hold some Bitcoin to the moon. And don't forget to subscribe.
Bye, guys. Nice. Love it.